7 symbols on the dollar bill and what they mean. For most people, the only thing that matters about cash is the value printed on each bill and the total amount filling their wallets. But folks with a sharp eye and a little more time on their hands may notice the intricate design details on the various denominations. Along with the portrait of a famous statesman, U.S. currency features a potpourri of images that range from intriguing to downright mystifying. Perhaps no bills pack a more befuddling display into an innocuous package than the $1 note. The humble dollar bill offers a rich tapestry of symbolism for those who take the time to examine the craftsmanship a little more closely. Here are the explanations behind 7 of the dollar bill's more perplexing elements. Serial numbers. To start with, perhaps the least mysterious, the obverse or front of the bill features several numbers. The longer ones off to the top right and lower left of George Washington's portrait are serial numbers. The first letter of each series identifies the Federal Reserve Bank that issued the note. That same letter appears in the middle of the Federal Reserve District seal, to the left of Washington, and also corresponds to the 4 numbers located near the number 1 at each of the 4 corners. For example, the 2nd Federal Reserve District is New York, so a $1 bill from that district would have a prominent AB within the Federal Reserve District seal, and at the front of the 2 serial numbers, as well as the number 2 near each of the 4 corners. You've probably seen this bill before, but what do all the symbols on it mean? Let's find out. Also on the front, to the right of George Washington, is the U.S. Treasury seal, designed by Francis Hopkinson, a New Jersey delegate to the Continental Congress. The seal features a set of balanced scales, which represents justice. The inverted V, known as a chevron, is lined by 13 stars, symbolic of the original 13 colonies. At the bottom of the seal is a key, which stands for authority. Bald eagle, the reverse of the dollar bill, features the 2 sides of the Great Seal of the United States. It's created in 1782 by Secretary of Congress Charles Thomson from the recommendations of 3 committees. The front of the seal, to the right of the word 1, emblazoned across the middle, features the American bald eagle, wings spread as if in flight. The eagle grips 13 arrows in its left talon, emblematic of war, and an olive branch signifying peace in the right talon. The bird's head is notably turned in the direction of the olive branch to exemplify the nation's preference for peace. Famously, Benjamin Franklin objected to the choice of an eagle as the national symbol. The statesman wrote that he preferred the more respectable turkey. The bird's presentation on currency also proved a source of controversy on one occasion. The 1801 U.S. silver dollar inadvertently showcased the arrows, rather than the olive branch in the eagle's right talon, apparently a signal to Europeans that the young nation was primed for war. This misunderstanding was corrected by 1807, when a reissued coin switched the positions of the bundles. The Great Seal of the United States is full of hidden meanings. Let's take a closer look. So this is the shield. And according to Thomson, the designer of the seal, it stands in front of the eagle, without any other supporters to denote that the United States of America ought to rely on their own virtue. So the 13 vertical lines, they represent the first states. They're alternating in their shades to show that even though the states are different, they're all working towards the same goal. The horizontal band that the states are propping up, that's supposed to represent Congress, the unifying force between the states. Now, most people only see shades of green and white on the bill, but the original seal had even more colors. The vertical lines were red, white, alternating to show both hardiness and valor on one side, and purity and innocence on the other. And then the blue horizontal band represented vigilance, perseverance, and justice. So next time you see a dollar bill, just remember it's not just money, it's a mini history lesson. For more mini history lessons, stay tuned. The back of the bill also features several Latin inscriptions. The eagle clutches a scroll in its beak that reads E pluribus unum, which translates to, out of many, one. Possibly borrowed from the London published Gentleman's Magazine, which was well known among educated Americans in the late 18th century. The motto encapsulates the cause of the American states. Across the back of the bill, which features the reverse side of the Great Seal, the phrase "annuit coeptis" above the pyramid translates "Providence has favored our undertakings." Below, the inscription "Novus Ordo Seclorum," meaning a new order of the ages, refers to the inception of the U.S. government. It was in large part that last phrase that resulted in the Great Seal being featured on the dollar bill. While earlier printings had different designs, President Franklin D. Roosevelt believed that the phrase "a new order of the ages" would remind the public of his New Deal, resulting in the bill's reformatting in 1935. The back of the US dollar bill has a lot going on. The back of the US dollar bill has a lot going on. There's the eagle clutching a scroll in its beak. That scroll reads "E pluribus unum," which translates to "out of many, one." The phrase possibly dates back to the late 18th century when it was published in London. Gentleman's Magazine, which was well known among educated Americans at the time, encapsulates the cause of the American states. Across the back of the bill, which features the reverse side of the Great Seal, the phrase "Annuit coeptis" above the pyramid translates "Providence has favored our undertakings." Below that, the inscription "Novus Ordo Seclorum" means "a new order of the ages." It refers to the start of the US government. It was in large part that last phrase that resulted in the Great Seal being put on the dollar bill. Earlier printings had different designs, but President Franklin D. Roosevelt thought the phrase "a new order of the ages" would remind people of his New Deal. So in 1935, the bill was reformatted with the Great Seal in the center. This is the dollar bill. So this is the dollar bill. You ever wonder why there's a pyramid on it? Well, there's a couple different answers. One is that the pyramid and its detached capstone represents strength and duration. Others suggest that the structure's unfinished form represents America as an unfinished creation. And of course, we know that the number 13 is significant as it relates to the founding of the United States. Each of the 13 rows of bricks in the pyramid represents one of the 13 colonies. The year of the nation's founding is printed in Roman numerals on the lowest level. But what about the eye? What does that mean? Well, to those who designed the seal, it was a signal interposition of providence in favor of the American cause. You see, this particular symbol, known as the Eye of Providence, was already a well-known Christian symbol of God's benevolent watchfulness by the time. The Great Seal of the United States was created in 1782. So while it's true that the Freemasons also used the Eye of Providence, it wasn't exactly a secret society trying to take over the government. They just borrowed the symbol from Christianity.